In the market today, smaller merchants don't necessarily have the visibility of the 12, 24 months and 3-year plans that some of the larger merchants do. They end up being slightly more reactive with their financial requirements. So within that small to the mid-sized market, we're able to respond to their needs a lot faster than a bank, a lot faster than even some of the larger alternative funding institutions, so that we can respond to that opportunity that requires funds that helps them advance their business today.
What is a merchant cash advance?
Great question. And we get asked it all the time. So merchant cash advance is basically, we're looking at, for starters, it's an alternate form of business funding. And what we do is look at merchants' existing revenues and essentially advance them their future revenues today at a cost. Both the revenues that they're eligible for and the cost associated with that capital are kind of deconstructed in the bank statements based on various criteria from the industry they're in, the number of deposits, the frequency of deposits, the performance regarding NSFs, other MCAs they may be taking or not taking, and so forth. And that's really what we're doing. So we're advancing merchants their future revenues today to cost so that they can monetize those monies today.
Definitely. So how do you think a potential customer should decide whether they're ready to take on that sort of financing from you?
That's also a good question. I mean, the reality is what we continue to find, if I may, in the market today, is that smaller merchants don't necessarily have the visibility of the 12, 24 months and 3-year plans that some of the larger mid-sized merchants do, which automatically puts them in a different position because they end up being slightly more reactive with their financial requirements versus having the luxury of being able to be proactive. So within that small, ebbing into the mid-sized market, we're able to respond to their needs a lot faster than a bank, a lot faster than even some of the larger alternative funding institutions, so that we can respond to that opportunity that requires funds that helps them advance their business today.
Now, talk about communication and the expectation of the customer. I understand that what you're finding is people really want their money fast.
Speed is certainly the name of the game. And again, kind of talking to the nature of the smaller merchant, their opportunities may come up more organically. So they don't necessarily have the revenue set aside. And those organic opportunities are massive for a small merchant. And to be given the opportunity to be able to leverage those quickly so that they can grow their business is vital. It's part of their growth strategy.
I understand. And once you have a sort of a customer applying, could you speak to things, common mistakes you're seeing, things they should avoid, things they should know about when applying?
The reality is the more accurate the information you provide, the better. I mean, the truth of the matter is we see these merchants, they're working hard, they don't have a ton of free time. And when they start to make their applications, they're fraught with mistakes and we don't necessarily get the accurate information. What are they currently looking for? Why? Some of the stuff above and beyond the bank that's going to allow us to really customize the offer to meet their needs rather than just kind of plug and play. So more information is always better. Accurate information is better. And trying to make sure they speak to somebody and they're not just pressing enter on the internet so that their needs get kind of fired across every funder and broker in Canada. The minute any funder starts seeing a merchant's bank statements and application from multiple brokers, the story is clear. These are people that are typically way more desperate, which brings their risk profile for us up. It doesn't necessarily take them off the table at all, but it certainly means that their risk profile appears to be high because they're desperately seeking funds. So the way they tell that story, even when they are going on desperate, really becomes important.
I see. And I mean, that seems like low-hanging fruit for someone in their position to just keep that in mind.
Yes, it is. And sometimes people omit the low-hanging fruit or the obvious stuff because they think it's irrelevant. And I'm telling you, it is relevant, but it does help drive a more accurate response to your application. And I think that's something I really do want to circle back because I do have some good advice for that. And
of course,
we're always looking for, as I mentioned, the complete application, including what you're looking for, reason for the funds, But when we're looking at bank statements, even more so than the credit score, which, as I said, is 500 plus or minus, we are really looking for that performance. We're not looking for, your whole month in negative days, negative weeks, negative months. That becomes a bit onerous. And if you have overdraft, we want to make sure we know that once you're in the negatives. It's just, we want you to be proactive in sharing that information. And when we have questions about that you're able to reply quickly so that we can get past it. Because if you have a quick need, we might have a quick question to qualify. We want to keep that momentum rolling forward for you. So again, the speed in which you get back to us with questions, I think really does determine the quality that you're going to get from us too.
For sure.